Hilton brings you new ways to stay, with experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
Finding a new job is stressful. But with Indeed, it doesn't have to be. Just fill out your Indeed profile with your skills, experience, and desired salary. The more you fill out, the better your matches will be. And hearing from hiring managers will be 2 times more likely. Relax. That's your Indeed profile sending opportunities your way. Indeed, the world can work better.
Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and the San Francisco 49ers made 2 major moves today. The first one, that was signing former first-round pick Andre Dillard. The second, the clear bigger move of the 2, that is releasing edge rusher and former second-round pick Drake Jackson with a failed physical designation. Going to get into what that means for both those players going forward and look back at what led to Drake Jackson now being labeled and becoming the latest San Francisco 49er draft bust right here on 49ers Access. Just a few days ago, Drake Jackson was posting on social media saying, "I will play again this season," where there was talks of he isn't recovering correctly, the quad injury, the knee injury isn't working out, he hasn't healed from it right. All the signs are pointing towards Drake Jackson maybe proving doctors and this regime wrong and getting back on the field in 2025. And while all of that may be true, it just will not be with the San Francisco 49ers as today, May 9th, 2025, the first day of Niners rookie camp, which spans from today and tomorrow. Drake Jackson is no longer a member of the San Francisco 49ers. He wasn't going to practice anyways. If anything, he'd be in the weight room, he'd be rehabbing during this process, but they just cut ties and said, you know what, we're done, we're not going to try, and it has now led to him being labeled as a bust, and I think rightfully considered that after only a handful of seasons with San Francisco, and really only one somewhat season, you can say, where he actually was attributing to the roster's success, that being his first year in 2022. And look, it's kind of tragic because I think a lot of us, when they drafted Drake Jackson back in 2022 as a second-round pick, he was their first pick of that draft, there was high hopes. He has all the athletic traits you like. The testing was just off the charts. He was a freak athlete. He was doing backflips in his pool after he got drafted. We all said, wow. I was there at training camp and OTAs when Trent Williams, of all people, who usually when he says things, you listen because he's Trent freaking Williams. He said that Drake Jackson has the build, the body to be an all-pro. And I think that definitely stood where, okay, Drake has the height, the weight, the length, the strength, the bend. All of that leads to a player that likely finds success at the NFL level. But 3 years later, Drake Jackson is now one of the bigger what-ifs of this regime. And it stinks. I think we all go back to 2023, the year San Francisco goes to the Super Bowl and loses to Kansas City a couple of years back, and Nick Bosa holds out the entirety of camp. You're asking yourself, hey, who's going to be that guy who steps up in that first game against the Pittsburgh Steelers? That was Drake Jackson. He had 3 sacks. San Francisco goes on the road against Pittsburgh. That is the Patrick Peterson, this offense has tells game when they put up 30-plus points. And it looks like San Francisco is going to be the best team in football. And for, 6-7 months they were outside of a playoff run. But Drake Jackson looked like the next big thing. He looked like what San Francisco is still trying to find, even this past year's draft and getting Micah Williams in the first round. The guy opposite Nick Bosa, the guy to help, whether it is feed off of Nick Bosa or just kind of, be the next guy, be the number 2 edge rusher to help alleviate, double teams and make San Francisco's defense that much more terrifying to face. They had Nick Bosa, they had the interior presence. They have yet to find the other guy on the other end to bookend the defensive line other than Nick Bosa. And so those 3 sacks in that first game, we all said, okay, this is Drake Jackson's, coming out party, and it seemed like that was going to be the case. And after that, he kind of became just, where's Drake Jackson? He's gone. He's on milk cartons. Where'd he go? Fast forward through halfway through that season, San Francisco goes and trades for Randy Gregory and Chase Young. And then you learn Drake Jackson, he hurt his quad, he hurt his leg. He's not going to play the rest of the year. Okay, fast forward to last offseason. Can Drake Jackson get healthy? Nope, out again. Ruled out early in OTAs and training camp. And it was like, oh my God, will we ever see Drake Jackson again? And the hope was, whenever he can come back, maybe he can give you something if he found money, but he could never return healthy, and that's not San Francisco's fault. You can't project for injuries. He was not injury prone at USC. The only real knock on him coming out of college was the fact that he was playing stand-up outside linebacker, dropping into coverage and doing things that the regime was saying you're not going to have to do at the NFL level with our defense. And okay, you put him on the line. His first year, he has 6 sacks or 4 sacks. I think he was second amongst rookies outside of Aiden Hutchinson about the first half of the year in sacks, leading into the game against the Falcons in 2022. And after that, it was just the body wears down, the rookie fatigue sets in, and other than that one game against Pittsburgh the next year, he just was nothing. A big non-factor for a team that when you gamble on trying to get your quarterback and trade 3 first-round draft picks, you have to hit on those second-round picks, and Drake Jackson being the first one post-Trey Lance, really another big miss for a regime that you point to that 2022 class and you say, this is what gets regimes fired. Even that 2021 class, this gets regimes fired. And, not to kind of harp on Drake Jackson for a second, but, when you draft edge rushers in round 2, you expect those guys to be main players for you. I think it was Matt Mayoka who recently said that he expects Alfred Collins to be a big factor and a starter for San Francisco. And it's it's a second-round pick. He should be starting for San Francisco this year. He's supposed to be a key contributor for you in his first year. If he was a 5th-round pick, maybe not. But a second-round pick, those guys are supposed to be big players for you in year 1, and hopefully so on and so forth. But San Francisco, it's not just that Trey Lance pick. It is the 7 guys they took in between round 1 and round 3 from 2021 through 2022 that really set San Francisco back in a big way. And I get it. You're going to miss on some guys. You may have some teams pick the guy in front of you actually wanted, but San Francisco really missed big by Drake Jackson getting injured, first off, which they couldn't control. But when you look at what Drake Jackson didn't provide, being the bookend to Nick Bosa's defensive line in San Francisco's defense opposite Nick Bosa, you can take a dive deeper into what San Francisco and how bad they missed in the draft those 2 years. So they gamble on Trey Lance, trade 3 first-round draft picks, put a ton of pressure on that draft class and the player himself. Obviously, Trey Lance no longer here, now with the Chargers after a trade to the Cowboys a couple years back. But they take Trey Lance at pick number 3 overall. He's a bust. He's a quarterback 3 now, if he's lucky, at the NFL level. They go get Aaron Banks, who was a fine starter here, but got $72 million this past offseason by the Packers. Didn't play his first year, was really bad last season. So that's a second-round mixed results. You don't love, but don't hate. Could have been better pick. Then it gets really bad. They get Trey Sermon in round 3. What an awful, terrible pick. He didn't do anything for San Francisco. He's finding some playing time with the Colts now, but a bust if there ever was one. The next pick in 2021, their second, third-round pick, Ambry Thomas. outside of maybe 2 seasons, that 2021 season where he really wasn't supposed to play, but Verrett gets hurt, Mosley gets hurt, he gets thrust into action, has that big interception against the Rams in Week 17 to clinch the playoff berth. They gets torched in the playoffs against those Rams again. Then kind of gets benched, by the next couple of DCs and DeMeco Ryans, and he kind of loses his footing on defense. Then Steve Wilkes makes him a starter again, and he kind of refines his footing, but then complained last year, was injured last year, gets cut middle of the season, couldn't get claimed because he couldn't pass a physical. So 4 relative busts in a way, although Aaron Banks gave you a little bit through about 2 years of his starting capabilities at the NFL level. Then fast forward to Drake Jackson's draft class 2022. They go Drake Jackson, who was cut today, hasn't been healthy for going on now 3 seasons, has only given you one really big game for you, that being the big one in Week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now he's a bust. He may never play again for all we know. The next pick in round 3 is Ty Davis-Price, which, my God, what a terrible pick that was by San Francisco. I think he just got cut by Philadelphia's practice squad this offseason. Then in that 3rd round, it's Danny Gray. San Francisco really had 7 picks they could have made, from Trey Lance all the way down to Danny Gray, from round 1 to round 3 in back-to-back drafts. You could argue they didn't hit on any one of those players. None of those guys got a second contract. None of those guys are on the roster anymore. And Drake Jackson really is indicative of how bad, despite how good they were, like San Francisco was in the running in 2021 and 2022 for a Super Bowl. They went back-to-back NFC Championship games, and I know we all know to Trey Lance, and we all go back to him saying, wow, what a miss. What's even worse is that was compounded by further misses in round 1 all the way through round 3 in consecutive drafts that really held San Francisco back, and we could be actually talking about maybe different results in 2021, 22, and maybe even in 2023, where San Francisco maybe not is calling themselves a multiple-time Super Bowl champion, but maybe at least a one-time Super Bowl champion with this regime. So Drake Jackson, the 10 years over, it stinks for him. You hope he can get healthy, but we literally went from a bendy freak athlete who Trent Williams is calling an all-pro to a guy who may never play football again for this team, and is the final of their 7 picks from 2021 and 2022 in rounds 1 through 3, where they aren't on the roster anymore. These are practice squad backups. Maybe Aaron Banks starts this year for Green Bay. The money would certainly indicate that. But, Trey Sermon's practice squad free agent guy. Trey Lance, a quarterback 3, could get cut this year by the Chargers. Drake Jackson injured, may not play this year. Ty Davis-Price just got cut. Danny Gray, I think he's a free agent still. Ambry Thomas, I think, is a free agent still. Like, this team really, really, really botched those 2 drafts in a big way where, if you're going to gamble on things, you have to hit on players like Drake Jackson. And this team really missed, not just on Drake Jackson.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistant's assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
But on 7 really important picks, but focusing on Drake Jackson for a hot second, and yes, I see you guys' comments here, where Drake can now finally go get, Micah Williams can finally go get number 95, currently wearing number 98 in his first rookie camp. So maybe he changes numbers. We shall see. But it really shows you the pressing need. San Francisco has been trying over and over again. D Ford, Arden Key, Charles Omenihu, Samson Ebukam, Drake Jackson, Leonard Floyd. It's been failure after failure after failure with trying to find the bookend opposite Nick Bosa, and they haven't found it. And so there is pressure on Micah Williams outside of the obvious first-round pressure, but when San Francisco continues to fail, it's draft classes like that, it's picks like this, it's days like this where you have to watch Drake Jackson leave because he can't pass a physical anymore, where you start to buy into the reasons as to why some fans, mainly Bobo in the comments here on YouTube, are often skeptical as to San Francisco being able to find key replacements or kind of revigorate the roster, even in this past draft class. Like, I know we're all hyping up Micah Williams and Alfred Collins and CJ West, but it's very easy for fans to point to 7 picks like this: Trey Lance, Aaron Banks, Trey Sermon, Ty Davis Price, Ambry Thomas, Drake Jackson now, and say, like, are we sure this team can actually draft well? It just really goes back to and proves the point that despite the faith you have in Kyle Shanahan, despite the desire for us to say, well, they win so much, they've hit on guys in rounds 4, 5, and 6, and 7, there's been a lot of problems that don't just stem from Trey Lance and Solomon Thomas. There was a 2-year chunk of picks that this team couldn't buy a winner, that this team couldn't find a credible pick amongst the litter. And you look at the mishaps they've had, the big games they've lost, the reasons why they've lost big games. You could even dive into the following year in 2023. Jair Brown, a 3rd-round pick. We like him enough. Could be a starter to begin the season. I think he will be. But Jake Moody's been a bust thus far in round 3 as a kicker. And Cam Latu already been cut. So, again, there's been a big chunk of picks in that grouping, rounds 1 through 3, that you just say, my God, what were they thinking? What were they doing? And there's big whiffs that may have actually caused, in some form or fashion, them not winning 1, 2, I don't want to say 3, but at least 1 Lombardi trophy in that time span where you say, man, if they got this guy instead, if they picked that guy instead, maybe things could be different. And for Drake Jackson's case, I don't know where he'll go. If he'll go anywhere, I think he has to get healthy, first and foremost. He really needs to find his footing. Literally and figuratively in this case, but you hope he gets healthy, you hope he can go out there and play again. He's a guy that all the projections, 2nd-round pick, 3rd-round pick, he was supposed to be maybe not the guy, but a guy for you. Had he been healthy throughout his entire time in San Francisco, maybe you have a legit edge 3, maybe a contributor at the edge 4 position. If you actually, become something, maybe they don't draft Micah Williams, or maybe they don't, go and sign Leonard Floyd. So it's a lot of what ifs, and unfortunately, there's so many picks involved in those couple years, 2021 and 2022, where almost all those guys are now what ifs, and none of those guys are on the roster anymore. So it's just kind of the cherry on top of the, oh my God, what a pile of crap picks those were for San Francisco. We will always have, though, week 1, 2022, with Drake Jackson and, 2023, right? 22, 23? 23. Sorry, 23. 3 sacks against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It felt like something, but again, a big what if in the NFL world. But San Francisco didn't stop there. They made a rather big move, if you want to call it that, following releasing Drake Jackson. They went and signed a couple of guys that were on the free agent pile, the first one being the biggest name of the bunch. That is offensive lineman Andre Dillard. That name may sound familiar to you out there, former Philadelphia Eagle, Tennessee Titan for 1 year, and a Green Bay Packer last season. He's a former first-round pick by the Philadelphia Eagles in 2019, played 43 games for Philadelphia during his time there. In 2023, joined the Tennessee Titans. Didn't last very long with Tennessee. Then signed with the Packers last offseason. I know when you hear that, former first-round pick, you think of, they found a guy that, it might be a steal for them. And that may be true, but there's a lot of injury history with a player like Andre Dillard and a lot of up and down success and failures with him. In 2020, missed the entire season, tore his bicep. 2022, fractured his forearm, missed some time with Philadelphia again, has concussions in back-to-back seasons, and last year didn't play much at all with the Green Bay Packers, was kind of like a fringe, spot guy they had as a depth piece, but he does play a very valuable position for San Francisco. They already signed DJ Humphries this offseason. I don't know if he'll be a right tackle or left tackle for them, but Dillard does play left tackle and also played 7 games at guard in 2022. So there may be some maneuverability with him for a player that is inching towards the age of 30, who really may have a better chance of making the roster at playing guard. Although he is 6'5", he's a pretty big player, hence why he's played left tackle the most of his NFL career. That said, the NFL is a what have you done for me lately league, hence why Drake Jackson was cut today. But Andre Dillard, for as good as his career started, right, first round pick, he was like a 16-game starter for Philadelphia, and you kind of bought into, okay, once he gets some time under his belt, he'll become the next great Philadelphia Eagle offensive lineman. Really was never the case and has yet to become the case. He's a player that has really walked up to the cliff edge and just jumped off and kind of held on a little bit, but then just cratered and fell off the edge the last couple of seasons. He's a player that is kind of trying to refine his footing in the NFL, whether it is a tackle or guard. We will see what he does this training camp and OTA session, but he was really, really bad in 2023 with the Tennessee Titans. He was brought in, they had a new regime come in. They wanted to fix the offensive line, get big, bulky guys, and play some bully ball, and they just couldn't do it. And Dillard was a big factor as to why they couldn't do that. I think he played right tackle for them. His PFF grades that year as a starter for Tennessee was 47.4 as a pass blocker and 56.6 as a run blocker. That's really bad. That's really bad. So the odds are getting a player that is competent, or it really is even in competition for a left tackle backup job or a right tackle job, to me doesn't seem serious. I think it's more of a camp body situation with him. Now, we did bounce back a little bit last year with Green Bay, albeit he only played 13 snaps, so what do you make of that? I don't think you can make much of it. I think if anything, he's a camp body. He'll come in. He has a little bit of upside being a former first-round pick, but he's older now, and nearing 30 years old. There's been some injuries there with the upper body, with the bicep and the fractured forearm, but a lot of bad play of recent years. Maybe in kind of a wide zone scheme, maybe he can play guard for you. He's been a better pass blocker in previous seasons than a run blocker, but that really dipped down in 2023. So he's kind of we're going to wait to see what he becomes and if he can actually, be a viable player for them this season. But you got to think he's behind Trent Williams, obviously. He's behind Colton McKivitz. Those are your two starters. He's behind Spencer Burford, who has left guard and left tackle kind of in his repertoire. He can also play right guard and right tackle, so there's one spot you say, hey, it's kind of already taken up. Can you take Burford's job? The odds probably say no. The other guy is DJ Humphries that is signed last week or so post-draft, and he's clearly ahead of Andre Dillard on the depth chart. And so really the question is, what can Dillard provide? I think maybe if Humphries can play right tackle for you, or being a swing tackle, maybe you find Dillard as kind of the practice squad elevation guy if somebody else goes down. But I have a hard time buying into Andre Dillard despite the name value, the first-round pick, draft status next to his name. I don't hate the signing, but people are kind of getting a little hyped over this. Oh my God, it's Andre Dillard, first-round pick. It just, let's pump the brakes. I don't see it being a big deal for San Francisco, but he's a camp body. Maybe he can show something. And if anything, he's a veteran option behind Trent Williams and DJ Humphries. Something San Francisco, like right now it's Burford, Humphries, and Peasants. I would rather have Andre Dillard than Austin Peasants this year. But it'll be a big, I will say the tackle room is becoming a really important, depth piece Jalen Moore is gone. So I think bringing in more bodies is actually really important for them. And get your eyes on more guys and see if somebody can kind of, claim a spot above the rest in that room. And, the more competition, the better. Humphreys was injured last year. Who is he going to be? Dillard has had injuries in the past, hasn't played well in previous seasons, so what can he be? Burford, left guard, left tackle, flexibility, can also play the right side. So you have your guys you're going to champion in that room, but there's certainly room to wiggle in regards to who claims that backup spot. And I think the battle really is between Peasants, Humphreys, and Dillard, with Dillard kind of becoming kind of the wild card in that group now. But I wouldn't put too much stock into him being a major factor for San Francisco. That said, it's a big name, it's a big body, and it's a former first-round pick, so we will see what happens with Andre Dillard. He wasn't the only offensive lineman they signed, though, and I hope I get this name right. They signed Nicholas Petit, I think it's Frere, from former third-round pick of the Tennessee Titans, so they got back-to-back Titans they have signed today on the offensive line, unfortunately. Those offensive lines in Tennessee through 2022 into last year were absolutely terrible, so it's not the best group to pick from. He is a former third-round pick, though, in 2022, so same exact draft class as Drake Jackson, just one round later. He's 6'5", 316 pounds. I would, again, put him in that camp as Andre Dillard. He's a right tackle, where Dillard has played left tackle. So, again, the more the merrier, the more competition, the better in that grouping. But despite him having the athletic upside, he can move. He's fast, he's physical. Like, he fits the archetype San Francisco would have liked coming out of the draft in 2022. But I'm going to be blunt. He's never been good at the NFL level. He's been really bad from 2022 all the way to last season with Tennessee. It's never good when you're cutting bait with third-round draft picks. We already talked about, Danny Gray and Trey Sermon and those guys. Cam Latu. This is the Titans' version of those players. A guy you draft, you can hope can be a player for you at your right tackle position, and just never came to fruition. Now, you can get into the personnel, the coaching, but Tennessee has one of the better offensive line coaches in football, and so when you have a player that doesn't succeed there, some major questions come into play. He always was kind of a raw prospect, but never really was able to find his strides in Tennessee. I'll read you his grades that were career highs. He has a career high 57 run blocking grade and a career high 50.
The new McCrispy Strip is here. Dip approved by ketchup, tangy barbecue, honey mustard, Sprite, McFlurry, Big Mac sauce, double dipped in buffalo and ranch, more ranch, and creamy chili McCrispy Strip Dip. Now at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
5.0 pass blocking grade. Both of those came in his rookie season. So we're talking about 2-3 years ago now where he actually was a competent player. And even then, wasn't competent at all, really. Below average player for Tennessee. Didn't grow from there, didn't get better from there, just got worse. Last year with Tennessee, had a 42.8 run blocking grade and a 55.9 pass blocking grade. So it's not good whatsoever. Really, really, really bad. Again, you have to question, what's going on? Last year, 10 penalties and 10 sacks allowed. He's a guy that you just put out there and say, dude, just put your body in the way. Can you slow somebody down? Because there's technique issues. He's super raw. He doesn't have the anchor. I think at times he's over-reliant on the athletic traits that he has. However, there isn't much there. And I think that, there's a reason why he was signed on May 9th, not during free agency. There's a reason why he was cut by Tennessee. And sometimes another team's trash is a team's treasure. And you're hoping that with Kyle Shanahan, with Chris Forrester, maybe this becomes kind of the next reclamation project. But the hopes aren't high, and I certainly wouldn't expect much of Dillard or even a Petit Frere from Tennessee These are fringe camp bodies to me. I really wouldn't get too much into it. You're going to have guys that say, oh, this is a big signing. It's like, yeah, well, is it? They're big names. They're, failed first and third round draft picks. Those things, I guess, kind of matter, but they also don't. Like, it really doesn't matter much at all. Kyle Chipto says here and puts it a great way. Where you are picked doesn't matter. No way. Now, you're being sarcastic, but you're right. Like, where you're picked, like, Trey Lance, theoretically, if he was a 5th round pick, we all would have said, whatever, who cares? And labels get put on you, the expectations get put on you. Whereas if you're a 1st round pick, oh my God, and you aren't very good or you don't reach levels of 1st round pick status, you're a bust. And so for players like Dillard and Petit Frere, if that's his name, if I'm saying it right, they have been labeled as bust or players that never really lived up to 1st or 3rd round pick talent. And in Petit Frere's case, has been kind of atrocious. Like, I get it, toss him out there for a year and see if it works out. And he kind of showed some signs of growth, but then year 2 and year 3, it was like, boom, roller coaster. We're going up. Oh my God, we're going down. And it was terrible. So, I don't know. Camp bodies, guys you wouldn't expect too much from, but Drake Jackson gone, and Andre Dillard, Nicholas Petit Frere, and even cornerback Dallas Flowers brought in because San Francisco also waived Jalen McKenzie, Drake Jackson, and cornerback Trey Tomlinson. Again, the cuts aren't a big deal. Trey Tomlinson's like 5'7", 5'9", former Rams, TCU cornerback. Just camp bodies. It's the first day of rookie camp. If anything, they want to get guys in the building, see what they can do, get physicals passed and signed, and hopefully one of these guys can become something for you this year or in the future. But, a lot of signings that happen now really don't mean much. Like, and we'll kind of get into this in a couple of days or so, but Fish and Chip says, so wait a minute. We released a failed 2nd round pick and signed more failed early round draft picks. Help! You got that right, Fish and Chips. That is the Niner way, brother. You have 7 failed draft picks in 2 years, and you say, hey, bring a few more into the building and see if they can pan out for us and become some nice depth pieces. But most guys signed at this point in time don't do much for you. Like, you're going to see eventually Jadeveon Clowney sign and Gabe Davis sign, and those guys will give you a little bit of some play. They'll catch 30 passes, 40 passes in a season. They'll give you a few touchdowns, they'll give you a few sacks, which we'll dive into both those guys over the weekend. But I really wouldn't look too much into either one of these signings. But Drake Jackson being cut does suck. It hurts, but it is what it is. That said, I do want to pause for 1 second because if you want to go to a baseball game, MLB's in full swing. The Giants are on top. They're looking really good this year. The Golden State Warriors are fighting for their playoff lives against the T-Wolves, I think is who it is. Draymond's out there yelling and hitting people again, which is never old news. And concerts are in full swing now. That spring and summer are around the corner. And if you want to go to any of those events, use our promo code 49ersAccess, 49ERS ACCESS at SeatGeek.com and save yourself $20 off your first purchase. Some smaller news of the day. That is, the San Francisco 49ers have inked their entire 2025 draft class besides first round pick Micah Williams, second round pick Alfred Collins, fourth round pick CJ West, and seventh round pick Curtis Rourke. I know Curtis Rourke likely is not cleared yet to practice, has the knee injury. CJ West did practice today. Alfred Collins did not practice today. And Micah Williams did practice for the first time, and he is a big man. He ran through a coach today at rookie camp. It was incredible. It was like, oh my God, watch out. Here comes this semi truck running through the coaches. And it was like, hey, just tuck and roll, brother. Tuck and roll. Then Alfred Collins, there's a picture of him from the back, and this dude is built like a Mack truck. He's massive. He's rocking 99, so they gave him the old DeForest Buckner number, if it matters to any of you out there. But everybody but Alfred Collins, Curtis Rourke, and even Marquise Siegel didn't play or practice today, but none of those are too concerning. But Nicholas Martin is signed, Upton Stout has signed, Jordan Watkins has signed, Jordan James, Marquise Siegel, Connor Colby, and Junior Burgeon have all signed their rookie contracts. Just waiting on Williams, Collins, West, and Curtis Rourke. They also have signed 5 of their undrafted free agents: Corey Kiner, Drew Moss, Isaiah Nayor, Jacob Robinson, and Sebastian Valdez. It is worth noting that linebacker Stone Blanton has not signed his contract, nor is participating in today and probably tomorrow's minicamp, as he's tying the knot this weekend. So good for him, and he'll probably sign that contract once he returns from being married. I got married in almost a year ago today, about, a year, and we have about math hard 22 days and as my anniversary of 1 year. So May's a great time to get married. So good for you, Stone Blanton, out there. Hope you enjoy your day. And as long as you can stay away from Kyle and Johnny Holland and Chris Kosaric screaming and yelling at you, get your peace and rest while you can, because come summertime, come OTAs, and come minicamp, they're going to be in your grill for the next few months as you're going to make the team. I do want to get to some YouTube comments. Joseph Ernberg says this: Trent Williams is going to retire. Watch. Well, not this year. Maybe next year. I can see that being a thing. He's already practicing. He's already in camp. He showed up during the pre-draft OTAs or voluntary workout session. So I would say no. Let's not be too negative, Joseph. He can retire next offseason. It's a much better tackle class in next year's draft than it was this year. So just pray to the football gods that Trent can play 1 year. Pray to Y.A. Tittle himself. Please, Y.A. Tittle, let Trent play 1 more year. Please, please. See if we can get some more comments back in here. Bobo says the real talent evaluator was Adam Peters, and now he's killing it in DC. Well, let's pause. It's been 1 year, a really good year, mind you, but also it does help to have the number 2 overall pick or number 3 overall pick in the draft, where you can get a quarterback in year 1. Whereas the roster that Dan Quinn walked into was not nearly as bad as what Kyle was left with, thanks to Chip Kelly. But Adam Peters is great. The Washington looks phenomenal, had a great draft last year, and seemingly, at least on paper, had a pretty good draft this year as well. So I think a lot of it comes down to just scouts. You take big swings, you miss. And San Francisco was taking swing after swing after swing on guys that, one, didn't fit their schemes from 2021 kind of till 2023. Didn't fit their schemes. The overdrafted guys that were consensus reaches, which to a certain extent happened this year as well. Jordan Watkins and Nick Martin were amongst that group in this year's draft class. But I wouldn't just give Adam Peters all the credit for all the good stuff and tell Kyle and John to kind of, screw off for all the bad stuff. It's a mixed bag. Sometimes I'm sure there's a lot of prospects Peters, kind of got on the table for and said, I want this guy, and they were overruled in some way, and maybe those guys would have sucked. Who knows? So, but yes, Bobo, you're right. Adam Peters is great. He's killing it in Washington, but I'm not going to say he was the only guy in that room doing his job really, 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 really well. Fish and Chips says here, with all the wasted picks, if they wouldn't have been wasted, wouldn't we be 2 times Super Bowl champs? Maybe. It's kind of what I was getting at earlier. Obviously, the future and the past is always kind of muddy as to what could have been, but it's hard to imagine a team like San Francisco being that close 3 consecutive times, right? Went to overtime against Kansas City, then lost back-to-back heartbreakers against Philadelphia and the Rams for different reasons, mind you, but that doesn't happen for just off the cuff. You have to be really good. And had San Francisco maybe not missed on 7 consecutive picks, maybe we are at least having a different story for one season, or the pressure's off for this year, right? So, it's always hard to live with what if. And Drake Jackson, amongst those other 7 picks, kind of encompass an era of this regime where you just say, my God, there was, like Bobo says here, that was a golden opportunity, and they blew it. And you're right. Like, that's a very valid and I think correct statement to make. They were in a window. Had they just hit on some picks in that round 1 through 3, we could be having an entirely different conversation. Entirely different conversation. Alfred Collins missed practice. That is a question via Kenny 49ers. Yes, but it was nothing serious. It wasn't like he's seriously injured. It's more about, I think he has a minor injury. If I can find it for you here really fast. I know he didn't sign his contract yet, so that should be, part of that conversation, but he has a minor calf injury that I don't think is that big of a deal. They think it's minor. He'll get over it in a few days, but I would expect Alfred Collins to either practice tomorrow or once OTAs kind of kick in the next few weeks. These guys come in, they start installing the offense and defense and getting playbooks and whatnot and doing meetings, and then they kind of pick up things as the spring and summertime progress. But I wouldn't look too much into it. I would just say, hey, miss one practice, who cares? You'll see guys miss practice all throughout training camp and OTAs, and you're like, man, whatever. Fish and Chips asks here's a question. Will Shanahan make Jauan Jennings receiver number 1? I think on name value, yeah. But I think Pearsall fits that mold as kind of the more X receiver that he likes. As long as Ayuk is out. Like, Jennings can certainly play the X. He's a bigger guy, can play outside. But I think they really just love having the mismatch with him being a bigger slot receiver. It'll be interesting to see what the NFL does with DeMarcus Robinson. There was some inaccurate / mixed reporting on his suspension. And it's not true, I guess. Like, they're still kind of mulling over what to do. And so I think if DeMarcus Robinson isn't suspended for the first 3 games of the year, I think he may take up that slot role, and you may move Jauan to the outside, and you're going to have kind of Jauan and DeMarcus Robinson and Pearsall kind of be your starters in the beginning of the year. But I was really surprised to hear, I think it was Kubiak, the OC, talk about Jacob Cowing having a big role in the offense this year and kind of having a great offseason. Obviously, time will tell. He's an undersized guy. You hope he can get his body right. But ultimately, without, Deebo Samuel, you got to have a gadget guy in the offense, and Cowing can be that for you at least, and also be a deep threat for you. And it seems like they don't want Jordan Watkins to play much. We'll see how that progresses if Robinson and Ayuk are going to miss a big chunk of time. I think Watkins may have to play, but we'll see. Or at least he'll be kind of the 4th, 5th guy on the bench for you. But I was shocked to hear they kind of talked up Cowing without being asked about him in particular. So I would say that on paper, yes, Jauan becomes that, but Pearsall will be the guy, I think, for them. He does much more than what Jauan can do in regards to route running and deception and getting open. But Jauan's already awesome. Like, Jauan can just do it all, really. Slower guy, kind of clunky at times, but he just gets it done. And I think Kyle values that a lot. So I think your starters, your 2 starters will be Jauan and Pearsall on day 1, barring injury.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks, or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Visit USAA.com/bundle.
Bundle savings are off total premium, not available in all states or in all situations. To qualify, auto policy must be active prior to property policy issue, subject to change. Restrictions apply. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
What do we have here? Another question from Fish and Chips. He asks, who will wear the wrong shorts this offseason. He's referring to Brandon Ayuk in Shortsgate last year, where Kyle had to say, "Hey, Ayuk, wrong shorts," and Ayuk got pissed and was like, whatever, and kind of walked away and went and put some pants on. If there was one player to wear the wrong shorts, man, who would it be? Probably Nicholas Martin, simply because he was wearing like shark slippers yesterday, and he seems like the kind of guy who likes to have fun and may want to have a little too much fun and kind of get carried away. But it would not be like, oh, like I'm making a statement. It would be, oh crap, my bad, coach, I'm sorry. I would say Nicholas Martin's probably that guy. He seems like a really fun guy to be around. He certainly fits the personalities inside San Francisco's locker room. And the last one here, via Fish and Chips, asks, hot take, we already are not missing Nick Sorensen in the press conferences. I'll tell you this. I was willing to give Nick Sorensen a chance last year. Obviously, we all kind of know he was the panic move. Didn't get Belichick, didn't get Spagnuolo, didn't get a lot of the guys they wanted. And he fires Steve Wilkes and all that and the other. And, okay, Sorensen comes in. He's in over his head. Let's give him time. And his first press conference wasn't in, like, it wasn't at the podium. It wasn't in the media room, which is where you will see those things take place, whether it is, via someone's video on YouTube or on their phone or on Twitter or via the 49ers themselves. It was in the media room, sitting in the audience. He went and sat down like a side seat, and we all were and huddled around it, and we're like, hey Nick, how's it going? Why are you sitting down? This is weird. This is your introductory press conference, and you're just sitting, not standing, not saying hello. It was a weird vibe. I mean, and you could tell a lot of the questions he was getting asked, he was like, well, I'll defer to Kyle on that, or, me and Brandon Staley are going to collaborate, and it was this is, something's off. They don't want to give him too much control or power here. They're saying, you don't even deserve the podium, Nick, in your first press conference. Go sit down on the side. So that was a little confusing, which, funny enough, became a clear sign that something was going wrong in the room with Nick Sorensen, hence why he got fired, because he frankly was not good at his job whatsoever. And Papa J, coming in hot, says Mac Jones would wear the wrong shorts. Do you think Mac Jones is one of those players that just wants Kyle's attention so bad, where he's like, hey Kyle, I'm wearing the wrong shorts today? He wants Kyle to notice him and what he's doing so bad. Well, Kyle, my shorts are red and theirs are black. Oh, and Kyle's like, shut up. Shut up, McCorkle. God, shut up. No one cares. Be the backup and be quiet. I feel like that could be he does, and it's obviously the perception of him. I'm sure he's a great person, but Mac Jones does feel like the guy that wants the attention more than maybe he deserves at times. Brock is the kind of down-to-earth, he's a very quiet guy, but really confident. Super humble, he's the boring quarterback you want to have lead your room. And Mac is like, look at me. And Kyle's like, you missed the check down. You missed the 5-yard out, brother. What are you doing? And it's oh man, sorry, coach. But I could see Mac Jones being that guy. But hopefully I can get down there to Santa Clara this year and see them in OTAs and training camp and give you the scoop y'all deserve on the channel. But that's all I have for you today. What do you think about the San Francisco 49ers releasing Drake Jackson? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Do you care at all? Do you like the signings of Andre Dillard and Nicholas Petit-Frere on the offensive line? And are you worried about Alfred Collins not practicing? I wouldn't be too much, but tell me what you think down below. I want to thank Kenny 49ers, Papa J, Fish and Chips, Bobo, Joseph Ernberg, Cowboy Chipto, and 49ers Faithful Forever, and Dre Area Sports saying, what's up, Sterling? And Cam Latu sucks. That he does, my friend. That he does. That said, that's all I have for you today. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave that review. 5 stars on the audio podcast review if you can. And follow us on social media at 49ers_access is the X or Twitter. 49ers.access is the Instagram. Use that promo code 49ersaccess at SeatGeek.com and save yourself $20 off your first purchase. And Fish and Chips says here, bye Sterling, on to year 2 of marriage. 22 days, and year 2 is upon us. Been a pretty good year 1. But hopefully year 2 is even better. But with that all said, my name is Sterling Bennett, and until next time, as always, just like my marriage, we're going to go ahead and stay faithful.